All right, now we coming back once again, hitting in the same book, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, but one verse, verse 7. We walk by faith and not by sight. Close your Bible after that. We walk by faith and not by sight, but we really don't. Now we coming back with part 3 on this word faith. What is faith? Moving. An action word. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. That's what it says in the book of Hebrews. But yet we say we walk by faith and not by sight. Now some of us been taught as we growed up to, I gotta see it to believe it. That's the same way we do God. Now, JT, I gotta see it to believe. You know, Pop was showing me something yesterday, and I said the same thing. Then the Pop, you was showing me that guy Chris Angel, the one that be walking on water and floating in the air and everything. I said, you know what, Pop, I have to see that in person to believe it. And then I thought about it. I said, that's the way we do God. Yet we claim that we have faith, but we really don't. We'll say we'll step out on faith. Oh, if I make one step, God will make two. But we don't even make the first step. And we want God to make all the steps. So we be quoting that we walk by faith and not by sight. But we really walking by sight and not by faith. It's amazing how we quote scriptures but ain't got a clue on how to live them. We walk by faith and not by sight. I got to see it. I'm a country boy. I got to see it to believe it, JT. I heard what you saying, but then at the same time, I don't think God could get me out of what I'm in. I don't know, man. This situation right here is, you don't have no faith. Because you got to see it to believe it. Well, let me ask you this, YouTube family. How many more things do God got to show you in your life? He have showed you already when you should have been dead. We should have been locked up. Some of those things that happened to somebody else supposed had happened to you. When that car ran off the road and barely missed you, it could have been you that got hit and died also. How many more things do he got to show you for you to believe it? See, faith is believing. Faith is moving. That's why I say you can pray all day. But if you don't put no action with your prayer, what are you doing? Well, JT, I prayed for the Lord to bless me with this job, and the Lord ain't blessed me with that job yet, but yet and still, you sitting at home waiting on a job to knock on the door. What kind of faith is that? Don't you know God want to see what you're going to do for him? What are you going to do for God is the question. We expect all of these things from God, but what really are we doing for God? Well, I don't want to go to church. There's too many hypocrites in there. I can't get along with them folks, but you clock in every day to people you can't stand on your job who give you so much hell. Well, I got to, JT, the game coming on, man. I got to be back in time. Oh, now the game is in front of God at all times. Well, I got to wash my car. You can wash your car any day. I just don't really want to be there. What if God blessed you according to the way that you bless him? The way you serve him? The way you praise him? Some of us, God ain't heard from us in I don't know how long. But we claim that we have this faith. Where is it? Then one of the most important scriptures says, without faith, it is impossible to please God. Without faith. Notice I said without faith, it is impossible to please God. This is why so many people have so many doubts. They have so many worries. Let me say this again. Worrying is lack of faith. And when you have lack of faith in believing, you're going to worry all the time. Well, I just got laid off. Don't you believe that God can provide still after your layoff? Sometimes your layoff is for a good reason. because God got something better in store for you. But you won't see it because your faith was in your job. People going to learn by putting faith in mankind. You can have that job today and lose that job at the end of the day. You can be in that big old fancy house and you can lose your job and lose that house and your fancy cars. That's what's going on in this world right now. Y'all better check the economy and see what's going on. But we say we walking by faith and not by sight. We walking by faith and not by sight. How many people really, really, really have faith? Or they just say it because it seemed like a popular thing to say. Just like people claiming to be Christians because it just seemed like the popular thing to do. Well, I'm a Christian. Are you? Oh yeah, man, I'm a Christian. I go to church. I pay my tithes. I even sang in the choir stand, brother. That don't mean nothing. You can do all that and still go to hell. What do that mean? The question is, what are we really doing to bless God? You always hear people say, God bless America. I always say, when is America going to start blessing God? By living right. By stopping all this wickedness. By hating each other. When? That's why when I did the video on when people are looking for things to get better, I'm looking for things to get worse because the Bible teaches me that. Men going to get all wax cold. This wickedness is getting more and more wicked. I mean, we got some wicked things going on. Terrible things going on. When you look at some of these crimes being committed, it's some stuff you wouldn't even think people could think of doing. I mean, think about it for a moment. How do you throw your child, your flesh and blood, out of a window while you driving down the street? That's wicked. Because your baby won't stop crying. How do you leave your kid in the car on purpose in 100 and some degree weather, knowing they in there and you don't even cut the air on and you leave them in there for an hour and let them die on purpose because you tired of raising that child? How do you murder your own wife? These are things I see every day when I look at the news. How do you set your own wife on fire? How do a wife kill her husband in the middle of the night because he said he don't love her no more? That's why I always tell people, when you talk about the tongue, so I had a guy tell me this the other day about, oh, you said a foul word. When I tell people you ain't got to use a cuss word to hurt somebody, and these same ones tell you don't be, man, your mouth is bad. They take their same mouth and their tongue and they be horning around licking on women with it. But they say because they don't curse. But they using their tongue to have sex and lick on women with. See, that's over most people's head right there. I know. That's why I keep it real. Talking about taming the tongue. You can't even keep your tongue in your mouth while you want to criticize others. You horn around and sleeping around, licking on every woman that come your way with your mouth, and you still saying bad words. But I didn't mean to get off into that, but just to make a little point. But back to this faith thing. An action word. Standing boldly on what you believe in. A lot of people say that's what integrity means. Standing on what you believe, what's right. But I'm talking about faith. If you are laid off and looking at this video, do you have enough faith to believe that God is going to provide? If your wife have left you, men, or wives of your husband have left you, do you believe God going to still make a way? So I like to call it that crazy faith, because I get ignorant for the Lord. And I mean that in a good way. I'm just stupid enough to believe in my spiritual mind that whatever I'm going through, God going to make a way. Because he have showed me in the past and he's still showing me now. How many of y'all sometime to know where your next meal was coming from? Oh, you didn't know where you was going to lay your head, but you had faith enough to believe that God going to make a way. I always say, I look at people get on airplanes all the time. You'll trust a pilot, a man or a woman that you don't even know. You will trust them with your life. So many feet up in the air, but you won't trust God for 10 minutes of your life. Yet and still, you can get on that plane. and go far away. Well, we won't even pray. We won't even pray for others. But we say we walking by faith and not by sight. Most people are walking by sight. They got to see it. I got to see it to believe it, JT. I got to see it. I don't think God going to bring me out of here. God going to have to show me when God done spared your life before. When you done came from another layoff. That same God that brought you out then is the same God that's going to bring you out now if you believing in that. See, our problem is we want to pray for this thing. Let me pray this prayer. But then it seemed like God ain't answering me, so I done prayed my prayer, but God taking too long, so now I got to do what I got to do. God don't understand, JT. These bills got to be paid. They about to cut my lights off, excuse me. So God ain't coming quick enough, JT. God take too long. And then when you start trying to handle these things yourself, God just sitting back looking. He shows us, don't he? You go ahead and be big and bad by yourself. Then you're going to be crying to me later on is what God is saying. You're going to need me later on because you hard-headed. Your head is hard as a brick. You're not listening to me. And when we get to the point where we ain't listening to God and we done let self take over because we think we got a better way than God, we in bad shape. That's what was wrong with the children of Israel. God had already brought them out. We hard-headed just like them. He was feeding them. All they had to do was be obedient. But look how disobedient they kept being. Take them around the mountain one more time, huh? Take them around and they still ain't getting it. How many more times do God got to say they still ain't getting it? My people just ain't getting it. But we claim we walking by faith. If the children of Israel would have been really, really walking by faith, it wouldn't have took them that long on that journey, would it? I believe they would have got there very quick. Same with us. Let's fast forward. If we would be obedient and walk by faith, not by sight, we would cut out some of these issues in our life because most of them we putting on ourselves. God already promised you trials and tribulations. That's a promise in the word that you was going to have that. But he also told us to be of good cheer when we going through things. James say when you fall in the dive of temptation, count it all joy. That let me know whatever I'm going through, I need to praise my way through it. Let me go back to my 3 P's. Press, praise, and pray. I'm going to press my way through, praise my way through, and I'm going to pray my way through it. And with that being said, God bless everybody. May God keep you. This is my prayer that we start getting closer with this word and living it and staying on guard. And don't be deceived by no man. God bless you.